Hi, I'm Paul Moyer, and in this video I want to show you a couple of the new features that we've put into the GTX program. Firstly, you'll see this is the new start screen. Down here at the bottom, these are various features that we've put in previous versions, and you've got the videos there. Now look, it's extremely important that you watch these videos. They're usually only 5 to 6 to 7 minutes long, but they can save you half an hour or an hour or phone calls to us wanting to know what all this new stuff is. So if you just watch that, you'll find that it'll bring you up to date with the latest versions. Now up here in the yellow, these are the ones that we've put into this version. As you can see, it's version 3.8. So this is the turbo costed item screen that I want to show you now. Also down here, if we've put new features in and they don't need a video, then I've put it in this list so you can just quickly go through until you get to the previous update. So there are all the things we've done on this update here. So click continue, and once you've watched them, then you can click the don't show again, and this screen won't appear until we do the next version. But it is really, really important, and I cannot stress it enough that you watch those videos. Okay, so we'll watch those later. Now the first thing is, you see we've now got a from my desk. This is a new feature so that we can get very important messages to you, and I'll only put messages in there if they're important, and I'll also try to keep them much shorter than what you even see there so that you're not spending a lot of time reading. But you know, if there's a training day coming up or a webinar, often our builders will say, oh, I didn't know there was a training day, even though I might have sent out 2 or 3 emails. What we're finding is that some of our builders are changing their email address, not telling us, and of course they don't know about it. But from this version of 3.8 in future, anything I need to tell you, I can put in here. If there's maybe an update, you can click on that one there and it'll show you a video of the update. Click on this one and it'll set up an email so that you can email me straight back again. If it's a training day, then you can click on here and it'll take you to our web page so that you can register for training. So it's going to be quite a versatile little thing that from my desk. But the main thing I wanted to show you today was the new turbo costed item screen. So if I click on Mr. Williams and then click on the costed item screen, you'll see that the new one looks very similar to the old one, except we've got this new leather grain feature here. But if I say go to timber floors, you'll see that you've got the usual ones here. And as I move my mouse, you'll see only those buttons will apply to this, only those buttons will apply to these items, and so it goes on. Okay, so now you can't get confused as to what buttons you can do with what things. If you want to delete an item, select it, click delete, and of course you can delete as usual. Or if you want to swap an item, select it and you can swap as usual. So these things are pretty much the same. You can add notes, and you can change the job section. If it happens to be in the wrong section, you can change them through here. Okay, that's pretty much the same. This one here again is to add items from other categories. You can go to, say, you know, other categories here. You can select an item, even just say concrete pump, and click on it, and then you can either add it in or you can use the keypad to put the quantity in there. Okay, so those are all the same. This one here again, once you've selected it, you can swap the selected item. You can change the name or the quantity, so you can change the name here. You can change the quantity, and this component quantity is this one here, okay? Or you can change the keypad quantity, 13.5, which is this one over here. So you've got those options that you can do there. If you want to change the material and labor rate or the window allowance, if you clicked on a window, click on that, and you've got your material cost and your labor cost, and then again, as usual, you can set it for all future quotes or for this quote only. Now you'll see that we've put one above the other. That's allowed us to make the font bigger, particularly on a small laptop screen. You'll find that it's easier to see. Okay, and of course if you wanted to delete it, just click on the button and click on delete. Okay, they're pretty much the same as normal, but it's when we get to here that things change. Okay, if we want to show the costs, you'll see that I've already put some of these costs to Bunnings and to John Chippy the framer, but it also gives you who the supplier is and who the subby is, which on the standard version you don't get that. So if I wanted to change something, so let's say for example, if I went to maybe the roof, and I wanted to put the plasterboard to a subby or a supplier, then I can simply, as it says here, right click on any pink or blue to mark by owner, or in this new one you can actually assign it to an existing subby or supplier's quote. Okay, so if I right click on the plasterboard, I've got two options. If I go to the owner, I can simply then click and it marks it by owner, or I can re-click and it'll reinstate the cost. However, I can also allocate it to an actual quote. Now I've put these quotes in my job already. Okay, so you've got Sparks Electrical, Ralph the Roofer, PGH Bricks, Pete the Plasterer, No Drip Plumbing, Mitre 10, John Chippy the Framing Carpenter, and I've also put him in as the Fix Out Carpenter as well. And then you've got Con the Concreter, Bunnings, Bob the Brickie, etc. Okay, well this is going into the plasterer's quote. So I can simply go down till I get to Pete the Plasterer, and I can just simply click, and you see how fast it is to take out the calculated cost and replace it with part of the actual quote here. If I've made a mistake and want to change it again, I can simply reinstate it. Okay, now to show you something else as well, let's assume for the moment that you were buying that from, say, Bunnings or Mitre 10. If I click on Mitre 10, I can replace it with the Mitre 10 quote, or alternatively, if I decided that I wanted to use Bunnings, I can go to Bunnings and I can replace it into the Bunnings quote. So if you get 2 or 3 quotes, you may have a couple of electricians or whatever, it's very simple now just to select the quote that you've put in and you can chop and change the actual items. So, and if you need to put in a new quote, of course, you can click on that button and that takes you to what we did in the last version. We updated the adding an actual quote. Okay, so I'll just reinstate those simply by clicking on them, and away we go. Okay, so here, let's say for example the plasterboard, we're not going to get it from the plasterer, we're going to buy it from the plasterboard supplier. Then you can right click and you can go down to your plasterboard supplier, and you've now reallocated it to the plasterboard supplier. Okay, and you can do the same thing, of course, with the subby. You can choose whatever subby you want to. Okay, so we've now got the options where you can allocate costs to the owner, as you could before, but you can also allocate it to a quote. You can add extra quotes in. You can change the subby or the supplier as well. So you can see there's quite a few more utility that we've put into this program. Instead of having to go out and go to other screens and come back, we've actually turned that thinking around and we've brought the other screens to this one. So once you've done the quote, you can sit on the screen here and you can virtually manipulate the entire quote depending on what you want to do. Now the other thing you may have noticed also is that when I clicked on a picture, we have this little button here, this costed extra. So as you go through, you might think, oh, okay, look, I've forgotten a staircase. So you can simply click on the staircase, click on cost extra, and then you just go ground floor, floor plan, cost more items, and that bypasses about 5 or 6 screens and brings you straight up to where you want to go. So you got a timber and craftwood, it's in the ground floor edition, full quote. Select whatever it is that you want. You want one of them. Click one, click OK, and then when you go straight back, it takes you back and your staircase is already there. So when I click on it, here's my staircase. So instead of having to go to the cost more items, turbo cost, and then go through all those screens to get to where you want to go, this is now a shortcut to wherever it is that you need to actually cost. Okay, but you see here we've got the costs, but I want to put those into a quote because I've got a quote for the staircase. So I simply right click, allocate it to a quote, and then I can go down to wherever the staircase company is. Now this particular one is being done by Better Handrails, and I can just replace the material and replace the labour. So not only have I shortcutted costing an item, I've come back here and I very quickly allocated it to the subby whose quote you've got for the staircase or whatever it might be. If I did patios and steps, for example, okay, so the treated pine here, I want that to go to Bunnings and I want John Chippy, the Chippy, to build it. So I can simply right click, allocate it to the quotes, go to Bunnings, allocate the material, then I can go to John Chippy, the framer, and allocate the labour. Okay, so now I've got Bunnings and John Chippy there. So as you can see, it's an extremely versatile screen now, much more than the old the standard screen. So that's the new turbo costed screen.